Hi there, my name's Harry Watson and I came to woodcarving from seeing books in the library, saints, angels and reliquaries, which are sculptures that you put a little piece of hair or a fingernail or something from a saint in, and then they can parade those down the street and do their worship that way. So that's what started me off in 1999 when I took more of an interest in where we were standing, and where people had formerly stood before, and how I could look into our history in New Zealand and found it quite, well, I did look into our history in New Zealand and found it oftentimes quite dark and Saturnian. And the historians can deal with the facts, but they seldom deal with the feeling of it. And the feeling of our history is just it's kind of mind-boggling. The blood was close to the skin, and yeah, and that fascinated and continues. And I also like to have fun with it. I don't like to take it too seriously, because it's also about our folly, our human folly. I think the caricature comes from my unwillingness to copy something verbatim, and therefore it becomes a caricature of that person, not necessarily a proper representation, because I might look at several pictures of that person until I kind of know their features just enough and can feel what they might have been like, what they might have thought, and that comes out also with, I like to make a bit of fun of them. There's a wonderful cartoon of Joseph Banks chasing a butterfly, and it was well known in London circles that he was a bit of a dandy, like get all dressed up, and things like that are very easy to make fun of, the vanity of people in that age. It's quite I feel very, very lucky to be able to, for one thing, research on the computer, one of the most modern technologies, in order to create something using one of the very oldest technologies, steel and wood and paint. A lot of people are quite perplexed that I paint my work, but in fact not painting it's quite recent. The Greek marbles were all painted, and I jokingly say to friends about bronze works, it needs a good lick of paint, bring it to life. Like each work takes, if you took, say, a carving of a person and you pulled all the paint off, you'd get a painting roughly yay big for a character that size, or maybe even a bit less. Painting that big for a character that size, and it is a painting. It's a painting onto wood, onto the sculpture. I treat painting in the same way as I treat the sculpture. It doesn't matter how long it takes, and I think that's what I mean if the works work. That's what makes them work, is that there's no clock, there's no hurry. In fact, I have a clock with no hands, and that just spending the time to get it right. Now Focus was started out as very bits and piecey. Like I'd carved a magpie. I think it was the magpie or the character. I'd carved one of them. I'd carved both the characters, and I had them sitting on the bench for a long time before they began talking to each other, or began talking to me, or telling me where they wanted to stand and what they wanted to do. And in the end, I really made a mental effort to focus, so that became the title. And they ended up in a chapel-like situation with a sort of a nice calm tombstoney background, because death was what was threatened all along, and the magpie is kind of giving the Ronald Hugh Palliser his comeuppance a little bit, because it was people like him that introduced the magpie, and now the magpie is getting his own back. But that really doesn't matter. I mean, I like to leave it totally open, everything open, so that could be an interpretation, but it doesn't need to be.